Alright, so let's assume we are writing copy for a company that sells pet doors, doggy doors that you fit to your back door or your sliding screen door. And I'm using that example because that's exactly what I was looking for yesterday, and had a lot of trouble finding a site that did a good job of it. So I've got Balsamiq opened here, and you can see that it has what they call the UI library open. These are standard sorts of things that you might want to add. These ones happen to be markup items, so you could add an arrow or a call out or a sticky note, that sort of thing. They come in handy later on, but for now, because we're talking about a website and a web page, what we'll start with is a container, which is a browser window. So click and drag on the browser window from up there on the left, drop it onto the page. You could, I'm going to delete that now, you could alternatively double click on it and it does the same thing. So just drag that to where you want it, size it however you want, and you can see there it shows you the resolution that will mimic, and that looks about right for now. I don't pay too much attention to the resolution. It's really just a guide for Ian, my designer, or whoever else ends up designing the site if we don't do it ourselves. So now I've got a web page container. I could double click on the header there and add what would be the result of a title tag. So let's call that Ridgy Didge Doggy Doors. What a name. And that is www.ridgydidge, let's do it without the hyphen, doggydoors.com.au. Okay, so we've got our container. Now we need to think about what the other elements might be on the page. Now, because I often use Balsamiq as my starting point for the copy, and as we know, it is always quite difficult to start unless I have a headline in mind already. I might often start with the peripheral parts. It often helps me get started if I feel like I've already made some progress. So I get started with the things around the copy. For instance, I know that this web page is going to have a logo, and it's most likely going to be at the top left, and certainly that's where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to, up here on the left, I'm going to search for a particular UI item, a user interface item from the library. Now I could go through here and find it, but I do find this one in particular is easier if I just type. So I'm going to type image and then click, and I'll drag that onto the screen, and let's say resize it, and then I'm going to click F2 and call that a logo, and that's just a label so that the designer knows exactly, and the client knows exactly what it is. Now it's also likely they're going to want some sort of image on the page, a masthead image or a header image, and potentially that might even be some sort of carousel. So given that it is another image, I'm not going to bother typing up here or looking through the UI library. What I'm going to do is simply make sure that logo that I've already added is selected, and I'm going to click Control D on my keyboard, which is quite often a duplicate command in Windows. And then we've got a second image. I'll click and drag that, and you see there those guidelines that pop up. That helps me align this image with the one above, and in fact it would help me align it with anything else on the page if there was anything else on the page. I'm going to resize that so that it's obviously a masthead sort of size, and I'm going to change the label to header image. So now we have a header image and a logo and a container, so it's starting to look a little bit more like a web page. If I go up to the text UI library, you can see there's a link bar which could be used as a menu bar, or would typically be used as a menu bar. And it comes pre-filled. So home, you would normally want that. Products, company and blog. Now I don't want company and blog. I want home, products, blog, about, and contact. Now each time I add a comma and a space, that will add a pipe in the link bar itself. So you can see we've got these vertical pipes. That was because of the comma. So anything with it separated by comma will be considered a separate item. Now we have the main header nav elements. The logo obviously would click to go back to the home page, and the header image is information and there to engage the visitor as well. So we need to start now with a headline. Now I haven't given any thought to a headline, so let's give it a shot. If we further along in the text UI library, we have a big title. I'm going to pull that down here. And what's important about a doggy door to a dog owner? For me, as a handyman, I make a great copywriter. So from my point of view, what I want is one that's easy to install. So probably we have to write the headline around that benefit. Now, just thinking about SEO, it's most likely that people, I know when I searched for this, I searched for doggy door, screen door, because I want to fit the doggy door to our sliding screen door. So I'm going to try and create a heading out of that. So we've got doggy door. Now I'm going to use doggy doors because that will ultimately be indexed in the same searches. All things being equal, doggy door would probably rank better, but rarely are things equal. So I'm happy to compromise a little bit and go with doggy doors because that will be more readable and more what the reader would expect on the page. It might be a bit nonsensical otherwise. So we have doggy doors, and it was for the one in particular that I was looking for was for a sliding screen door. But we're writing the home page, and the home page would need to summarize all of the products that this company offers, and no doubt if they offer sliding screen doggy doors, then they would offer normal doggy doors for like a timber door. So I'm not going to specify sliding screen door on this page, but the important thing here from a benefits point of view is that they are easy to install. So let's start with that. Now from my point of view, if I came across that page, I know it's not clever, there's nothing striking about that headline, but as a reader, as a prospective customer, this is exactly what I want to see. I've come to the page, I know that it's about doggy doors, and what's more, I know that it's easy to install. And that's brilliant. Now, just on a formatting note, I can add some formatting here. I would like to, because I know I'm pretty sure when I get here this is about doggy doors, I can see there's a fair few signals that tell me that, and I did search for doggy doors. What I didn't search for was easy to install. Now I do know that I want it to be easy to install, and as the copywriter I know I've got a pretty good idea that that's what the reader wants to see. So it's this component of the headline that I would like to highlight over and above this one. So if I double click on this element, I can edit it, same as I can with this text element, as opposed to these which you would click F2, and that's an exception. Doggy doors, easy to install. Now if I enclose the easy to install in asterisks and click enter, you can see that's bolded the easy to install part of that headline. Now this would be only a guide to the designer. I know when Ian grabs my wireframes, he does whatever he likes with them, so long as the information components, the information elements are all in place and everything is prominent as it is in the wireframe. I don't mind where they go. I mean, there are some basic rules to follow, and we both like to try to stick to that F-shaped pattern from eye tracking and keep all the important information above the fold being this section down here. But I don't mind if Ian wants to, for instance, separate this heading into 2 lines, and he often does that, and it gives him a good excuse to visually to bold the second line or the first line or whatever it is. Now, I can't actually do that with this sort of UI element. The UI element I need to be able to wrap that line is, there are 2 ways I could do it. I could do it with by either duplicating this and creating a second element underneath, second object, or I could go and get a paragraph of text and increase the size. In this case, I think what I'm going to do is, just to show you, and then I'll undo it, is duplicate this item. So put that, and you can see I can align it very easily with those guidelines, and everything is nicely aligned, although it would probably be a bit nicer if I did that. Pulled it across to the left, you can see that guideline going down the left. Now, the first line, I want to say doggy doors, so I'll double click, get rid of that, press enter, and then the second line I want to say easy to install, press enter, and there you go. Ian might do that when he transforms this wireframe into a design. He might not, but from now it's not really my concern what he does with it. I'm happy for him to do that. What I'm going to do right now is reverse that and leave it as it was, because one thing I do find with the wireframing is that I tend to be working in a more confined space than Ian does when he designs the final site, and I think that's partly because I don't make best use of space and he does, and also partly because the fonts that I'm working with are a little bit bigger than Ian, proportionally a little bit bigger than Ian will be working with. So I like to keep everything as I don't think tight, but compact at least. So I like to be as efficient with my space as I can. So I'm going to undo that change. So just Control Z will undo it eventually. Okay, so we're back to the original headline. I'm going to drag that across to the left again because that was undone. So we now have a logo, a masthead image, a nav bar, and a headline. The next thing we want would be our main body copy for the home page. So this is again, we're in the text UI tab, and I'm going to grab a paragraph of text, click it and drag it down here, and you can see that's what starts with. You can see here they've given you examples of how you can format it, and we've got paragraph is a hyperlink, row is underlined, second is italicized, text is strike through. So if I double click, we can see how they've done that. There we go. If we use square brackets, we can turn something into what looks like a hyperlink. Asterisk, we know, bolds. Underscore italicizes. If we use the ampersand, that gives it an underline. And this squiggle, what's that called? I don't remember what that's called. That gives it a strike through. So that's a nice guide for when you do want to do it. For now, we need to write some copy, so we don't really need to pay too much attention to that. Right, so copy, obviously always the tricky part. Let's just bang some copy out. There we go. How's that for an opening line? you know, depending on your audience, if it was me reading this, I'd be absolutely fine with that. And quite often, I suspect it would be. Again, this may say more about me than about the audience, and I'm no doggy door manufacturer or retailer, but I suspect, at least in our household, it's me who's given these jobs to do. And I would see the humour in that, and I would see the inconvenience aspect of the dog always needing to go outside. That's always going to be one of the key selling points. One of the key pain points, I should say. So that would get me reading. I would keep reading, having read that. Okay, so that bloody dog always wants to go outside, right? But you're not always in a position to let him out. Why not? Install a doggy door so he can go out all by himself. Now again, you know, this question of, do I really need to be trying to convince the reader that they need a doggy door? You know, they may be at this point already. Given that they're at this website, they probably know that they need a doggy door already. But so I'm not going to spend too long. That's about all I'm going to say about the benefits of having a doggy door, because there's a chance they may not know, but it's pretty easy to understand, and if they do know, then we don't want to waste their time. It's arguable that we're wasting their time already, and if I was doing this job for a client, I would put a lot more thought into this rather than just winging it. But I would say that just saying this shows that we understand the situation and gets them nodding. You know, it's always a good idea to get your reader nodding, get them to agree with you, get them to agree on the small things, so that when you ask them to agree with you on something big, like do you want to buy, then they continue to agree with you. Because people tend to behave in a way that's consistent with their previous behaviour. And if their previous behaviour was agreement, then it's likely they will be tempted to continue to agree. So there we have a paragraph. You can see it's quite narrow. Let's make that a little bit wider, not too wide, because we know that if you make it too wide, it becomes hard to read and it becomes hard to go from one line to the next. So I would get shot. Ian would shoot me if I made that paragraph span the whole page, for instance. It would just be way too hard to read. So I will keep it to about this width, and then continue. Now I can, given that this is a paragraph element, I can double click on that, open it up again, and then start my next paragraph within that same element, just by clicking enter twice on my keyboard. Now, we have now introduced our website, and we know exactly, the reader knows exactly what we do, why they're here, and that we can do for them. We now need to establish that we can do for them what they want, and they obviously want a doggy door. So, again, I wouldn't write this in a client's copy, but it's not too bad. We have doggy doors coming out our ears. More than you can poke a sticker. All sorts. Doggy doors for timber hinged doors. Now, we want to make sure that's not an ambiguous phrase. They're not timber hinges. It's a timber door that's hinged. So put a comma there. stainless steel screen doors, aluminium screen doors, and probably, to help our SEO, call them security screen doors. Even windows. Right. So if I click off there, we can see that we've now got 2 paragraphs of text. Now, this is the home page, and we've established, and we don't want to say too much, unless this is a long sales page, which it isn't. This is a site, an entire site with multiple pages. So I don't want to say too much more than the 2 paragraphs. We've established the need and that we understand the need, and we've obviously told them what we do and what the major benefit is. And then we've refined that, provided a little bit extra information to say that we provide all sorts of doggy doors. Now, on a home page, I would think that the reader doesn't want to know too much more. What they're going to want to know now is they're going to want to click through to find the particular product they're after. So one thing we could do to help them there would be to add links within the copy. So we could here add a link for doggy doors for timber hinge doors. So let's have a look at what that looks like with a link. And I added the square brackets. Now you can see this would be quite good for our SEO because we've included doggy doors and all of the keywords in the link, and that's great, but it does leave us a little bit empty when we get to the next one because from an SEO point of view, it would be nice if we had doggy doors in here as well. And also, we don't want the link to indicate that we're selling stainless steel security screen doors. So I think we're going to have to do something with this sentence that mixes it up a bit, that allows us to be a little bit more savvy with our SEO. So let's read it out loud. I always do this to understand, to get a better feel for how this copy flows, how my copy flows. And in this case, I'll be able to see, I think, once I've read it, what I need to do. You've come to the right place. We have doggy doors coming out our ears, more than you can poke a stick at. Oh, there you go, a typo. I love that. See, it helped me find a typo. And you're probably screaming at me, telling me about that typo, so thank you. All sorts. Doggy doors for timber hinge doors. Yeah, I think we can get away with it if we do this. Doggy doors for stainless steel security doors. It's a bit repetitive, but I think it'll be alright. Doggy doors for aluminium security screen doors. Even doggy doors for windows. So now you can see the text there has extended beyond the limits of that paragraph box. So let's extend that a little bit. Now, I think that looks too much. If I was writing this copy for a client, I think those links are too long and they are just there for SEO, so I don't like that. I'm going to undo that, and I think we can find a better way. So I think let's leave the copy good rather than doing it for SEO, and instead perhaps do these links text links with some sort of call to action. So I undid all of that with the Control Z, and I've got to remember the typo that I left because that was undone as well. Alright, so now if we wanted to, we could add a link from Doggy Door or Doggy Doors, but we've got products. I don't know that that will help us much. It might, and I would have to put some thought into that. But right now, I think we need to remember what we were trying to do then, which is allow the reader to self-navigate, and the first thing they're going to want to know is what are the individual products. How would I get to a doggy door for a screen door? Now, there are a number of different call to action sort of elements in Balsamiq. If you go to the buttons tab, you'll see we've got a standard button here and the multi-line button here. I like the multi-line button for this for a call to action sort of button. So if I click and drag that down here, I've got a nice space here on the right where we could use these, and for now I will. And remember, I'm not telling my designer, I'm not telling Ian that I need the button to look like this, just that it is a clickable element that needs to be prominent. So let's call this security screen doggy doors. And we need to be clear that it could work for stainless steel or aluminium. So stainless steel or aluminium, and we don't need to be any more verbose than that. So we have a button, and now I've aligned it with the right of the masthead and the top of the headline, and let's create another one and align it correctly. Security screen, this one will be timber door doggy doors. For solid and cavity, I don't know what they call them, I'd have to ask the client that, but I'm talking about, let's call them hollow timber doors, you know, the ones that have a cavity inside. And finally, what was the windows? Window doggy doors, and they might be really cat doors, I would suspect, most of the time. So let's call it cat doors for now, because it's it's more likely that it will be a cat jumping through one on a window. And they're talking about the sort of you know, those windows, those doors that you can install into the glass of a window that allows a cat to exit by itself. So there we have 3 buttons. Now I think, and we can colour those too, by the way. And if we colour them blue, I don't know. Ian hates it when I do all these ugly colours, but let's just choose a few different colours. Normally I would use red for whatever the primary call to action is there. So I don't know that that would be window cat doors. And I suspect it would be one of these, probably the timber one. But if we get too fussy with that sort of thing, this presentation will go on forever. So I have I don't think I need to announce what these buttons are. I could have a little subhead here saying our products, but I don't think we need that. So for now, let's leave it as it is, and I don't really think we need more than what we have in terms of content. Now we obviously are going to have a footer bar, and we can do that by dragging this down, and we can add another container, which is a rectangle, to the footer, and this can be our footer with, we might add some nav to it, so I click Control D again there and I drag down, and we might also have a secondary line. I'll center that on the page. Again, something else Ian hates me doing. I've just clicked Control D again. I don't know where it put it. And it put it down here because it replicates the spacing that I just added there between the first element and that I duplicated and the duplicated element. So here we'll add terms, comma, privacy, comma, refund, policy, and center that. Right, and we've got change that color to a grey, probably not that grey. There we go. And being fussy, I want that spacing a little bit nicer. And we need a copyright notice down there as well, which we would do with just some standard text and some text. Copyright 2013 Digi Wars. If you're wondering why my keyboard is so loud, it's because I have a mechanical keyboard, and if you've never used one, they are brilliant, especially when you type hard like me. They're far better than a membrane keyboard. They use physical spring as the contact point underneath the key. Anyway, that's an aside. Look it up, you'll love it. If you type a lot, they're just brilliant. Okay, so we have, I think, most of the elements we need on the page now. I'll close this up just a tad, not because I want the page to be closed, just because it makes it easier for us to navigate, less scrolling. And we can see that we've got something down there, we won't forget about it. Now, there are other things you can do in here. For instance, you can add an icon, and I'll type icon here so that, well, actually this reminded me of something very important I've forgotten. You could add icon, just the square, or an icon with a text label. So let's just add the icon for now. And it doesn't look like much at the moment, but if we type over here on the right with the details of the icon, we can type phone, and it shows you all the different icons we could turn that into. So that rectangle will be converted into a phone, for instance, because I forgot to add the contact details. So we want to add a phone number. Now, I want to have a subtitle size for the phone number, roughly. So let's call it, I'll use mine. And we can put that, if you do a shift click, it will select both. We can group them together, move that up here. It's always good to include your phone number, obviously, or contact details of some sort on every page, and it's good that they're prominent. One other thing that might be useful here is some installation instructions. So to try to figure out where we would put installation instructions, that's the question. We'd really need a fourth call to action for that, and I don't think I want to sacrifice any of these three calls to action for an installation call to action. We have said it's easy to install. We could perhaps mention in here, that's a good idea, let's try that. And if you're not as handy as you'd like to be, don't worry, they're all easy to install. Each store comes with a easy to follow installation guide, as well as a YouTube video showing how to do it. Okay, so we have to extend that text box. Now that I would make a link so that that could link through to an installation guides page, which might be an index page for all of the guides for all the doors. Now I could tweak this forever, I'm not going to. One last thing I wanted to show you is, or a couple of things actually, that if you click on products, for instance, I would like to see a drop-down list, drop-down nav appear with these products in it, and I can do that by adding a sub-list. But I want to be a little bit clever with that, so it's actually interactive and allow the user to do it. So I'm going to save this. Home, save. Right, so we have our home page saved. Now, I won't try and explain what I'm doing here, I'll just let you watch and it'll be easy to understand. I'm going to clone this page as a mock-up, as a new page. So I've got the original home page here and the cloned one here. I'm going to save the cloned one as home 2, and then on the cloned page I'm going to add the drop down, which has, instead of retyping, I'm going to say copy that one, add that there, copy that one, add that there, and I'm going to copy that one, add that there, and obviously you can't see it all, so turn that into something else. And I might also add, just for the sake of it, installation guides, and that would link through to our index page of installation guides for all the products. Now I'm going to change the color. So that it's clear that it's popped down, and I will add an icon here for the mouse pointer to show that that's what we've done. I'm going to make that small so that it doesn't get in the way. So this gives the client a visual indicator that having clicked that, it's dropped this down. Now I'll save that page. Now if I go back from here to this page, you can see that what we're going to do is going to click on products, and it's going to invoke this page, and that's what the client will see happen. They'll go products, bang, and that will pop down. So it will kind of look like when they click products that happened. So I've clicked on the nav bar here, and this gives me the opportunity to add links to the navigation. So I'm going to add one to the products item to go to home 2, and that little pink arrow indicates that I can click on it, or that it's got a link added. Okay, so I've done that, and then I would do the same sort of thing with these. So I would add a link, an extra page for security screen doors, and then I would link from this page to that page via this item. So now that I have created the wireframe itself, I need to turn it into something that I can send to a client. So I'm going to go File, Export all mockups to PDF, and these settings are all as I want them. Start the export, save it in here as wireframe, and now it says it's ready, so I'll click on that, and here it is. So if I double click on that, it will open it up in a PDF, and just so that we don't distract anyone, I'll get rid of that left nav. Now you can see this is our original page, our home page, and if I click on products, look at that, it looks like it just dropped down that menu. when in fact it didn't drop down the menu at all. I just pressed up and then on my keyboard. I'll show you that again. So it's the same page duplicated with the nav drop down added and the arrow added. So that's the basic principles that I use to create wireframes with copy in them, and you've been unlucky enough to be exposed to a little bit of my copywriting approach. If I have forgotten anything, or if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer.